Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna speak something about first house. It's not about something, it's many things about first house. Let us start with a quote from Bhagavata Purana. Bhagavata Purana, I think chapter 11. I'm not sure about that. It says that who does this body belong to? Does it belong to my parents who created it? Or does it belong to my wife who is my life partner? Is it fuel for the fire that is ultimately going to consume it? Or is it food for vultures and wolves? Does it belong to me or to my near and dear ones? And Oscar Wilde said, "Be yourself, everyone else is already taken." First house is all about Rupa, Vartamana, Sirsha, and Atmasthana. In Bhagavad Gita, the 18th chapter and I think 61 verse says, "The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy." So let's discuss about first house and all the planets in first house in this video. Well, now is that time of the changing. Why is it? Do you think that you have taken birth yourself here and now? This is a most wondrous time, a time of an end to one great cycle and the beginning of a new one. And so you have taken birth yourself here to become the watchers and the keepers, to assist the earth, and most of all, to assist yourself to know who you are. The first bhava or the first house represents physical presentation or the body image, personality, identity, attributes, constitution, vitality, past life wisdom, fleshly identity, confidence, early childhood, complexion, disposition, physicality, movement. Strong graha in one may indicate sports player, model, dramatic figure, or bright personality, innovation, natural vitality, life force, well being, sense data perceived, attributes of the fleshly embodiment, plus the social significance of those attributes, appearances and coverings, activity undertaken, advantages of all things, the seeds of appearance, general aspiration, attractiveness of the face, beginnings, birth potential, body brain capacity to enjoy, color, complexion, constitution, dignity of mother as regards you, that is like 10th from 4th, paternal, great grandfather, natural general state of health, impact of the personality, permission for other qualities, personality, pleasure, pain, destined, previous life wisdom, seeds of other things start in life. Overall, the first bhava or the tanu bhava or the first house or ascendant or the lagna represents the physical embodiment which is called Annamaya Kosha. Today someone asked me like what does the rising nakshatra represents? When you were born at some rising point, that is your lagna, and with some degrees, and that particular degrees might fall in some nakshatra, and that is the rising nakshatra. So if you want to know the astrological picture of body, complexion and constitution is expanded by noting the rising nakshatra, the lord of the rising nakshatra, Navamsha Lagna, D1 Lagnesha within the Navamsha, Chandra in D1 and D9. It is also worth looking at the characteristics of the D9's rising nakshatra and its lord. Although the rising nakshatra of the Navamsha Varga reveals more about one's behavior and expectations in psycho emotional relationships, our social relationships in fact define our personality to a very greater extent. Therefore, we should also consider the D9 in assessing natives' overall fortune, appearance, and social behavior. Let's see the radiant sun, how it does in first house. The channel used to reveal the intelligence is nothing but the egoic mind sun. One must possess considerable awareness of one's impact upon others in order to become a force for the good. Tendency to disregard and dominate with no malice aforethought. One may err when blinded by one's own light. Despite providing a positive, entertaining influence in one's home and work environment, the native may be disliked due to a characteristic inability to recognize the importance of others. Here, the Surya is more concentrated over himself, his authority. So, this may create problem in any kind of relationships. The spouse may grow resentful and the co-workers may complain of the native assuming personal credit for achievements earned by the team. Often, who is not self employed may find that even with sharp skills, one must often change jobs. The native whose self concept is a beneficent and caring king or queen is often bewildered by complaints against owner. So, self referential sun or Surya seeks praise and recognition for the regal qualities of one's appearance. Generally becomes a famous icon of some sort, maybe a bit vain, bright, independent, must have things done in own way. If one matures morally and emotionally, the personality becomes fully integrated with highest creativity, compassionate action. Otherwise, may become extremely selfish or sulk when the self directive is not successful, not a team player. He doesn't like a team. Even if he likes a team, he has to be the authoritative person in the team. A favored son or daughter. He is the one who will be always a good and a favorable son to their parents. Even if it is a female, the female will be the favorite child for them. Often the apple of the parental eye, especially a favorite of the father, burns up the earthen body with pitta dosha. So the one who has sun in first house will have pitta dosha. So digestion is overheated. The complexion gains a bright golden cast. They require broad recognition and usually receives it abundantly. Surya cast Drishti upon the seventh house, giving the spouse also a similar kind of selfishness. The marital partners will prosper when they remain mutually independent in their actions, each seeking their own personal satisfaction with a self directed agenda. It benefits a professional marriage with each spouse having his or her own means of income and professional skills. One will not easily share resources with the spouse, little mercy for weakness of the spouse. One is self identified and not good at sharing. Here it will be like me the first. Weakness when manageable presents opportunities for growth. There is a saying. So this is apt for Sun in first house. Father holds a physically visible position due to brilliant body personality attributes and is known to his society at large in an icon of virtue. Father may be a dramatic actor, politician, or other center stage personality. Whether his activities are positive or negative depends upon the Lagnesha and its angle to Sun in first house and also other malefic planets Drishti. Definitive effect on the personality development and social identity. Here, the native seeks honor and regard in glamorous central position, but is challenged to share glory and power. If Sun occupies either Simha, that is Leo, or Mesha, yeah, Aries, then they may display a breathtaking sense of personal entitlement. A very strong Sun occupies the Simha or the Mesha, then no doubt the individual will be a magnificent stage performer or military general. And the self focused Sun, who may suffer an inability to manage power sharing, not suited to equal relationships. Radiant Sun may exhibit not all for one and one for all, but rather all for one and all for one. The caring moon in first house. The first house moon native seeks comfort in environments that are deeply parental, protected, familiar, and nourishing. Chandra here is like the signature of the self focused athlete and modeler, often found in flesh body oriented physiological engineering and birthing roles, deeply immersed in patriotic, environmentalistic feelings. He himself identifies with the folk ways, habitual routines, ancient rhythms, seasonal calendar, ethno religion, familiar foods, care of the old and young, sheltering. They like to protect others. They have certain boundaries created for themselves. They like farming, fishing, they like policing, they like to be in a safe and predictable home culture. This is how Chandra likes when he is in first house. Seventh from Chandra becomes radical bhava 7, that is spouse. Here, the spouse will be typically diplomatic, equable, and contractual in fulfillment of agreements. Spouse often functions as an advocate in support of the native. Generally, a balanced emotional arrangement so long as both partners are explicit in expressing their expectations and the life partner is often a professional deal maker, counselor, attorney, or negotiator. First house Chandra native produces a strongly affectionate psycho emotional response to life. That's what the relationship partners generally may serve as a corrective balance who reminds the first house Chandra native of diplomatic and social contractual requirements. And here, whether it's male or female, irrespective of male and female, the Chandravan native will be like a parent figure in their organization or society. Here, the earthen body receives constant emotional feedback from others in the environment. One would be happy to live near water, ideally the ocean, but also large lakes which have their own inner tides are hospitable places for moon in first house native. Water is like a healing substance because water can absorb some of the excess energy in these natives, and it's something like how the sponge pick water from water. In a similar way, these natives pick up like sponge from everyone around them. So this is how Chandra 1 natives will be. A very good example for moon in first house is Dalai Lama, and he has Chandra Yuti Shukra, that is Moon and Venus conjunction in his first house. And let us see the examples in some other video. This is how we can see Moon in first house native. And one more thing which I wanted to tell about Moon in first house is these people can suffer from somnambulism, or like it's sleepwalking. Another way to take this is that you are sleepwalking sometimes during the daydreaming in life as well. And here the individuals might also have some kind of triggering psychological disorders in their lifetime. They are handsome, but they are fickle. So, and sometimes individuals may be scared of water. They will be having sickness of water. So, be careful, just especially females. So, be careful and check out if any affliction to the first house can lead to such kind of problems in your life. So, this is what about Chandra in first house. The aggressive Mars in first house. Let's see how it's going to be. Fighting, competition, and innovation are the means by which Mangala achieves his core survival goals. Mangala sends a brain signal of ingenuity and ready for action. He never stops moving, bringing a constant injection of kinetic energy into the physical form. For him, you can see them identified as military person, athletic, engineers, innovators, explorers, and conquestors, and they are the agents of sexual or commercial pursuits. Typically, the first house Mars creates a hunter, dancer, rider, swinger, marcher, chaser, diver, plumber, miner, and these personalities always invades, that is always in movement. Usually, these are the people one who are the sexual creatures often in pursuit mating opportunities. But here, Mangala's ruler and drishti into bhava one can alter the degree of outgoing sexual delivery. Kuja has drishti into fourth house, seventh house, and eighth house, and here the bhava 4 of home, school, security, and foundation. Bhava 7 is alliance, partnerships, contracts, marriage, and Bhava 8, the initiation, sudden transformative events, rebirth, rejuvenation, and all these are affected because the first house, Mars, injects bursts of activating energy into the fourth house, seventh house, and eighth house from the first house, Mars. And 25% of these people will be having Kuja Yoga towards the first marriage, unsettled childhood, benefits, building up hidden wealth, particularly within the joint assets of marriage. See, the Kuja dosha, seventh aspect, unsettled childhood, fourth aspect, and sudden income, sudden wealth, that's joint assets of marriage, that is eighth aspect. These are something which can expect Mars in first house. A good quote for first house Mars can be like, life can be explosive. Sins and criminal tendencies inevitably come to light with this planetary placement. Courageous and able to overcome adversaries, you are also susceptible to danger from fire, poison, and bloodshed. If you have Mars in first house, you are also likely to be reckless in speech and get involved in criminal conspiracies. Sometimes you may experience early divorce and suffer from heart diseases as well. Mental unrest, wounds, injuries on head and private parts is also another thing which can be seen when Mars is in first house. Mars rules the muscular system and urinogenital organs. Feverish and inflammatory troubles, smallpox, boils in childhood can also be witnessed when Mars is in first house. Having Mars in the ascendant can cause wounds and danger to the spouse as well because it has seventh aspect. Mars in the ascendant makes one good at passion and precision.
Thus, it gives the ability to be exact, precise, energetic, competitive, etc. They're very strongly built and tries to change things to their own way. They're not afraid of change. They are very brave, angry. Sometimes too much of wealth comes into their life. At times they are very cruel as well because of having Mars, the fiery warlike planet in the rising house. These natives can lose their patience, and sometimes they are like too much stubborn, argumentative, invincible. They can also have a weakened health through overworking because Mars is always energetic and they overwork. When Mars passes through the sixth house in the transit, there can be some problems to their inferiors or subordinates at their workplace. You will be credited for such, accomplishments as well. When Mars travels in the sixth house, service industry people will be benefited for those who has Mars in first house. These are something which I could analyze and could experience Mars in first house natives.
The intelligent Buddha, the Mercury in first house.
A person of profound learning and several sciences, interested in hearing other great scholars. Yes, I'm speaking about Mercury in first house. A native with first house Mercury or Buddha travels far and wide, interested in the higher branches of learning. You will be polite, kind, and conciliatory. And definitely, without fail, at the age of 27, he will go for a pilgrimage and will have great gains. A student of astrology. There can be some kind of eye diseases as well with those who has Mercury in the first house and also skin infections. There can be some disputes with brother in the teen years. They lives by speech and writing, shines brilliantly like scintillated gold. They practice the Indian medical sciences, like they like all the alternate medicines, and the native, if falls sick, it takes a long time to recover. A kind of evil influence can be generated by other planets in the chart, which can seize the individual or the native to get some kind of health issues. They are recognized by one and all, and these people hate evil people and evil things. If Mercury is not associated with any malefic planet, you are a handsome, learned in fine arts, poetry, and arithmetic. You're very much skilled, courteous, and you will have good longevity. You will be blessed with spouse and children, and your children can also be very much interested in music, and there can be a kind of discoloration of the body because of the excess bile produced. Pain, boils, warts, and moles can also be witnessed sometimes in your life. Fibroids and other stomach troubles can also be seen. There can be some troubles in the marriage during the middle age. There can be even loss of progeny. I mean, like abortions can be witnessed. They're well built if there is no malefic planets influence. Though they are old, they behave like a child. You may also like to take up journalism or feature writing, especially when Mercury is in masculine signs. And these people can also have self owned business. They are a very good messengers and evangelists. The delivery of explanation, descriptions, instructions, internal conversation, external gesticulation amazes people. They are very good at craft, and works of the hands, especially if Venus is associated. Painting, shooting, tool usings, all these can be seen when Mars is associated. These people's works can also get published. The bhava, which is third from Buddha, also creates a landing pad upon which the thoughts tend to dwell and linger. So, naturally, if any graha occupies this focus, the nature of the repeating narrative engagement with those thoughts will adjust according to the character of the tenant graha. Buddha's advertising and explaining skills help to define the social personality. In the case of religious apologists, a positive connection to Dharma Bhava, that is ninth house, may help to avoid verbose dogmatism. They're very straightforward conversational style, and this generally attracts a lot. And the finest example is Kumara. When Buddha is in first house, expert communicator, easy and friendly personal style can be witnessed. So this is how Buddha in first house.
Let's see how Guru is going to be when it's going to be in first house.
Jupiter in first house gives a tendency towards obesity and a stout body. It's like a breeding place for congestion and breathing related complaints. These individuals have fortune, power, and dignity to lead the social commercial world. They have internal power through moral and religious self. They are very optimistic, jovial, generous, prudent, sincere, courteous, and amiable. They are rational thinkers, firm, and self confident. These individuals may hold a high position, such as bankers, judges, doctors, lawyers, professors, preachers, government officers. There can be people who are in shipping industry or large wholesalers, and these individuals are known by their qualities. They are well dressed, prosperous, they have charming personality, but less manly. They look forward to a life in paradise hereafter. So they give away their wealth for religious and pious observances, or they do good for others. They are affluent, graceful, they spend their wealth for noble causes. Conscience is always elevated in them. They are learned, handsome, they do also have good longevity. They are fearless, they are always blessed with children, no matter with any kind of afflictions. The birth of a child can be delayed due to other factors, but it's not denied. These individuals are scholars, they get government favor, they are large hearted, gentle, mature, beautiful, honored, healthy, enlightened, modest, and strong. They are thoughtful in their actions, patient, outstanding, loves gold, diamond, and beautiful clothes. They are rich but also scared. They have some blood related infections, sometimes definitely in their lifetime, and plethora, gout, liver complaints, excessive vitality varies according to the Rashi. So it's not always the same, but definitely sometimes in their lifetime they are going to get some kind of liver related issues. For a female, Jupiter plays an important role. Jupiter is also Karaka for husband. So, Jupiter in first house for a female can give a husband who is noticeably recognizable in the society, can be who is into athletes or drama, very well known person in the society. Jupiter is also Karaka of language, so these people can be expertised in language and they might also know multiple languages. Some of the qualities of being Jupiter in first house I could tell you. I will share more and more, and do also let me know if you know something else. so that I will also learn.
Now let us see how the beautiful Venus is going to perform its job in first house.
You know, music, art, these are not just little decorations to make life prettier. They are very deep necessities which people cannot live without. A benefic in Lagna will give a pleasing appearance, while a malefic will make one bereft of good appearance. Felicity of the body will be enjoyed if Lagna is having Drishti by or Yuti with a benefic. I'm not talking about Venus being in first house. Luxurious pleasures via physical appearance is the characteristic feature of having Venus in first house. Lavish lifestyles, sensual and artistic nature, gifted in finance, beauty, ornaments, music, attracts attention of others very easily. Shukra in Lagna provides a pleasure in one's own body. It's not just that others get attracted at, but it's that the person itself seeks pleasure in one's own body, self delighted by one's own appearance, attracted to oneself, likes one's own special personal identity. If you keep on being in front of mirror and appreciate yourselves, and if you love yourself, then it means that Venus is either in your first house or looking at your first house. Often a dancer, an actor, balladeer, fashion model, musician, athlete, and even politician. Venus is Daitya Guru, so politician again can be seen with this placement if Saturn is aspecting Venus. Otherwise, a successful public figure and public life can be experienced by the native via the sweetly handsome or gorgeous bodily appearance. For a masculine native, the wifely companion plays a key role in shaping the identity of the native. The native focus on one's own identity to meet and also create an environment to meet feminine life partner via his own appearance. Relationships to this native are self-definingly important, and their social behavior is often distinguished by an ability to maintain pleasant relationships through rebargaining the terms of agreement. And let me tell you one thing, these people are very talkative and skilled in handicrafts. They are gentle, polite, and interested in politics unless there is an affliction by a malefic or if these are placed in any kind of malefic nakshatras, especially Saturn and Ketu. These individuals will have a long life, and this Venus wards off 300 evil yogas of other planets. And now, my friends, if I have to talk something about Venus in first house or just like that, then let me tell you, my friends, all that is true, all that is noble, all that is just and pure, all that is lovable and gracious, whatever is excellent and admirable, fill all your thoughts with these things. I'm not saying this. This has been said by someone I really don't know, but I remember this quote and I just put this on the paper because it is very apt to this. Whatever it is, however we are, we should love ourselves. That is what Venus in first house people does. And this is something they believe in. If I love myself, people will love me. If I don't love myself, how can somebody love me or like me? So never feel that you are somewhere lacking something. You just love yourself Self love is the characteristic feature of Venus in first house. Venus is Sanjeevani, and these people have lots of Sanjeevani Shakti as well. Whatever the diseases they have because of other planets, just Venus in first house gives them that immunity and everything is ward off.
First house, Rahu, the Maya.
Insatiable lust for life, desire to compete, and a compulsion to spring ahead of the pack as the characteristics of Rahu in first house. It uses the genetic earthen body appearance as a platform from which to launch the great leap, but does not remain consistent with the social attribute package. Passion to become someone better, higher, different than given at birth. Rahu in first house craves a privileged body life force which strives to establish an exalted social identity. Via Rahu's characteristics over promotion, Rahu's teaching in first house may become involved in illegal competitions, illicit athletes, or misguided sexual excitements that are over their head. In order to propel oneself to higher social station, Rahu, the restless, must produce greater passion, more vigorous movement, stronger sexual energy, and higher capacity for sustained warfare. Rahu in first follows the dictum of Julius Caesar. Rahu must always be larger than life. Rahu in first becomes a legend in one's own mind, a person whose self image reflects mesmerizing attributes of disruptive power, extraordinary vitality, and overall greatness. Often a flamboyant lifestyle, full of sexual adventures, more extreme results if Chandra occupies Aradra or Swati or Shatabisha. If Rahu occupies a Rashi of Mangala or Rahu accepts Drishti from Mangala, then risk taking as a responsive to conflict. Rahu's teaching in first house, sixth from Bhava 8 might feel compelled towards illicit behaviors by a conflict with first spouse's family or problem with secret keeping. Rahu being in first house is impossible for a mere human to sustain. There are indeed times of remarkable achievement, notably the Vimshotri Mahadasha and many of the well angled bhuktis of Rahu. However, in the modern age, many Rahu rising natives develop drug and alcohol addictions. Nearly everything that Rahu does in some fashion, contrived, falsely credentialed, and unearned, according to Shani's rule for legitimate social material achievement. Unless the Lagna Lord has exceptional integrity or some other graha grants authentic access to divine empowerment, Rahu, the Naga Posier, who does not have proper access to the deeper source of life force regeneration, will ultimately need some artificial fuel. When Rahu is in first house, of course, obviously, naturally, Ketu is in seventh and suggests detachment and disinterest on the part of the spouse, along with the tolerance for long separations. The Rahu native, by contrast, needs to demonstrate competitively high levels of sexual and athletic vitality. Often, the marriage partners spend a great deal of time apart. Rahu in first house natives sometimes self describe as chameleons, the small reptile who changes its skin to mimic the color and light patterns of every new environment in order to avoid detection. This native is never what one seems to be. However, Rahu in first house Consciousness is often completely co opted by the infiltration of the hitchhiking personality. One may be locked in a battle between the birth identity and the increasingly predatory claims of the interloping entity. Rahu, if has Guru's drishti, during Rahu period, they can have enormously expansive risk rewarding Rahu to quest and to enter the highest ranks of social validations of the body identity. Rahu, influenced by Shani, by contrast, experience more constrained to the basic conditions of birth. Rahu and Mangala, or receiving the drishti of Kuja or Mars, provides an engine of dynamic, aggressive, competitive energy which propels Rahu in first house into the highest echelons of empowerment during the Rahu period and also during Mars period or Mars Bhukti. So Rahu in first house people generally wants to be special all the time, and the reason is they might have been deprived of the mother's attention in childhood. So, lifelong craving for validation, recognition of the exotic, unusually powerful, or extraordinary qualities in one's muscular, fleshy empowerment and one's social personality attributes becomes the center for Rahu in first house people.
Let's see the Ketu in first house, the scattered, disconnected social identity known for marital breakups, widowhood, and overall identity dissolution.
Highly spiritual placement and challenging social placement. Ketu in first house inflicts an impossible loneliness, attracted to mesmerizing, fascinating, exotic other Rahu. Core instincts separate, withdraw, dissolve. Preferred identity is always total surrender to the divine. Their profound and incessant yearning to reconnect with other, but the state of yearning is generally incapable of resolution on the physical, emotional, mental, or social levels of perception. Ketu in first house people are like disengaged, daydreaming masters of the blank stare. Typically, these people are undecisive until they are forced to take decisions. When the Guru insists on personal responsibility, the Ketu in first house will withdraw from the group. When faced with a disloyal or misbehaving spouse, Ketu in first house tends to respond with simple denial. When denial becomes unsustainable, Ketu in the first house enters to a state of surrender. One simply walks away without explanation and often without future reference to the previous event. If the first house fails to receive beneficial drishti, the body may look rather thin, and Ketu in first house may seem somewhat awkward of movement, even haggard in some cases, depending upon the Lagnesha. If it receives the drishti of Shukra, that's Venus, and Rahu in seventh house, then they are physically the highest attractive forms in the world, in the entire universe. Ketu in first house often identifies with a pattern of unrecoverable breakage. Cuts on their body, surgeries is somewhat a compulsory act in their lifetime. The first life partner may be fascinating and seductively attractive, but the match is typically unsuitable. Marriage can bring humiliation, as Ketu in the first house is being used by a social climbing partner. Graha Yuti with Rahu may show a collaborating agent working with the ambitious partner for mutual self elevation. Even when Ketu is in first house, it also attributes the nature of chameleon to defensively mimic the dominant qualities of the social environment to avoid detection. I can be whoever you want me to be. This is what Ketu in first house is. Ideologically, the collapsing Ketu in first house may take up and then abandon various causes, social movements, and dogmatic affiliations with surprising speeds. If you are traveling with a person who is having Ketu in first house, may begin to detect the presence of multiple persons in one body. Ketu in first house has few boundaries. The personality is available to be used as a channel by stronger, more defined energies. Thus, Ketu in first house can be a signal of mental health challenge stemming from an inability to definitively answer the question, who am I? Ketu in first house may be quite photogenic and socially magnetic when on display. In private, Ketu 1 may suffer from psychic overload and need much time away from showcase duties in order to maintain their health and well being. A godlike heroism can be seen when Ketu is in first house in the Rashis of Surya and in the Rashis of Chandra. The Ketu in first house native is a local patriot or like a mother goddess. A competitive warrior or a hunter can be seen when Ketu is in Mangala, that is Mars Rashi, and when it is in Buddha's Rashi in first house. These people collectively desire to see a skillful, self oriented communicators. When Ketu is in the Rashis of Guru, these people see humanistic, benevolent charity as their collective desire. When it is in Shukra's Rashi, it can reflect the people's collective desire to see a designer, a decorator, a beautiful, gracious style icon. And when Ketu is associated with Shani's Rasi, it can mirror the social order and organization. In a nutshell, Ketu in first house can be said as anguish through relatives, fear and anxiety from the wicked, trouble through spouse, children, etc. Confusion, excess bile and rheumatism, constant distress through relatives, and dread of the vicious spouse suffering from restlessness and stomach aches, etc. They can have trouble in their arm, they can be a liar, afraid of sex, trouble for maternal uncle, can also be witnessed when Ketu is in first house. Loss, scandals, danger to face and eyes, and sometimes there can be a short life as well. The disciplined Saturn in first house will create Shashi Mahapurusha Yoga, and let us see how it's going to be. Dutiful, responsible personality, support for socially approved dutiful roles, rigid, fearful, lawful, layers of energy grid surrounding and interpreting the physical kernel. They act under pressure, they move, but they move slowly, must push forward against resistance. Cautious, conventional identity is the characteristic feature of Saturn in first house. These individuals accept social responsibility. They are heavily workloaded, and this workload is not for short span, it is durable, and they will have a high visibility career. And if Shani activates any of the Kendra, that is first house or fourth house, seventh house or 10th house, forming Shashi Mahapurusha Yoga, or the 11th house, these workload, and these individuals will be highly professionalized but socially isolated. Otherwise, if they don't isolate socially, they cannot be professionalized person. Manual labor and a heavy burden is always characteristic features of Shani in first house. In childhood, those with displacement imposes adult responsibilities upon the immature personality. So the little child is also an mature person. If you see someone, a small kid, talking very big things, then it means that Shani is either looking at first house or Shani is in first house. A powerful sense of duty will pervade entire life in people with Saturn in first house. Saturn in first house often will have dry skin and will look very matured. If the individual is around 30 years, he might also look as if he is 40 years of age. And these people are very lazy, and there is a possibility that these people sweat a lot. Attentive parenting, strong shelters, food hoardings, and safety, lawful social behavior can be taken up by individuals as career because Shani supports the propagation of the human species. So, such kind of professions can take them into glory and can make them iconic figures in the society. Based on the zodiac sign, Shani in first house impedes and retards prenatal or birth event conditions. The native will have some stunting or constrictions according to the Rashi. I shall discuss this separately for each Rashi, how it is and what are those problems. And if you have this placement and how to invade it or how to adjust it, because astrology is nothing but knowing yourself and trying to learn yourself and go according to your birth chart. Rather, see, Google might provide you various directions to reach a destination. So, astrology is also the same. Astrology provides a roadmap for the destination, and it is your choice that which way you want to go. So there can be different way to reach the destination, and it is all about yourself. So this is what astrology can guide you. So I shall tell you in some other video about the prenatal problems associated with Shani in first house. And coming to the next thing, the important thing is these individuals will have a fear of becoming zero. That's what, because they will have all the time hardships. So, these people's subconscious mind is tuned with some kind of negative feeling, that is fear of becoming zero. So, you need to understand that Shani delays but doesn't deny. And the irony here is these people do not try to know the individual self. They just keep on working, and their personal identity may consist primarily of socially expected roles and attributes. And they must maintain movement. And these people can also have some injuries, or they will be afraid of injuries due to competitive actions. Slow personality development is also the characteristic features of Shani. So it is very common. Fundamentally, these people are very stubborn, persistent, and conservative, always slow. As I said, they are very lazy as well. So these things needs to be taken under control, and my suggestion for Shani being in first house is take bath twice, and develop clerical skills. This will surely invade and negate the effects of Shani in your life. The four life experiences which are likely to trigger the negative mental effect of Shani. The four domains which create the fruits of domains, that is 1, 3, 7, and 10. 1 is self, 3 is siblings, neighbors, and colleagues. 7 is marriage and business partnerships, and 10 is again colleagues and career. So these will always have some kind of dangers or a negative kind of things, because you are not born to have all these material impulses within you. So you will find surely some kind of disagreements and problems or issues, dissatisfaction in these areas. So don't worry, be blessed. Everything is for good. You are born for some purpose. Not everybody is born for marriage or children or having family or doing something or doing something. You are born for social cause, and you will achieve a greated and you can be an iconic figure. So work on it. Just forget all these areas of life and just focus on 12th house. That is where you can get a great remarkable identity, and all the best.
I hope you all learned something through this video, and if you resonate, do comment, and if you want me to know anything else, please do comment and help me in learning. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.